welcome to the Life Leadership Podcast with me, Leila Singh. This is the place where ambitious business professionals come to level up in their career and life. Here, we explore powerful strategies for leadership development. We dive into career and personal mastery, mental fitness, and building a standout personal brand. So if you're ready to play a bigger game and unlock your hidden potential to thrive in this fast evolving world of life and business, then you're in the right place. So let's dive in. So today's topic is this: do you find yourself feeling stuck, overwhelmed, dissatisfied? Now, this can be in any or all areas of your life. This could be in your career, your relationships, your finances, maybe your social life, your health and well-being. Perhaps it's around your hobbies and your interests that you simply don't get time to do them. Whatever it might be for you, what can you do to take charge of your life, to create that change and to move from feeling stuck, overwhelmed and dissatisfied to experiencing a sense of being more in control, having greater clarity, a calmness around you, and overall fulfillment. In other words, feeling happy, joyful, fun, enjoying fun in your life, waking up excited for the day ahead every day, not just at the weekends, not just when you're about to head off on holiday, but every single day. So today I want to share some strategies that you can adapt for yourself to help you out of this rut. So what I'd like to share with you is what are some of the things you can do to overcome these feelings you're experiencing. The first thing I want you to consider is that if you're not happy where you are at right now in any area of your life, that means something needs to change. Okay, you may have heard the definition of insanity from Einstein, which is doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same results. And if you continue to do the same thing over and over again and hope that one day something will change and you'll be happier or less frustrated or less overwhelmed, then it's unlikely to happen. So you kind of got to look at, okay, what can I do differently in this situation? And that's the first thing to do, is to be open to change, embrace the possibility of change. So that's the first thing I invite you to consider. And one of the things you can do to assist you with that is become aware of your focus. What is it that you focus on? Because we get to choose what we focus on. And I read in a book many years ago, I can't even recall what the book was, but at the time, but something that I always stood out for me was that it said, a lot of people look at others and think, oh, well, they're just lucky in life. It's okay for them. But here is me and I'm struggling and I find everything really hard and it's not fair and so forth. And what the book said was actually a lot of those people who create a life that looks as though everything works out for them and they're always lucky or they're always in the right place or they know the right people, whatever story you're creating about that person, actually the truth of it is those people tend to focus on all the good things that are going on in their life. They don't spend time dwelling on all the things that aren't working or are going wrong or they're struggling with. It's not to say it's not about sticking your head in the sand, but what it is about is what you choose to focus on, because we get what we focus on. So if we focus on the things that are going well, the things that light us up, the things that we want in our life, rather than focusing on what we don't want, we're more likely to create them for ourselves. We're more likely to attract them. And it's also more likely that we will then feel better about ourselves. So if you are feeling overwhelmed or stuck or so forth, that comes with emotions attached to that. And to overcome and step away from those emotions, a great way to start doing that is by focusing on the good things. So maybe gratitude, a practice of gratitude daily is really powerful for almost like reprogramming your brain to focus on all the good things that you do have, the things that you have to be grateful for. And they can be the smallest things, from waking up in the morning to seeing the sunrise or the sunset, or smiling at a stranger when you go for your walk or your run, being able to exercise. Some people can't. Thinking about having food to eat every day, having running water. Think about the small things, and the more we focus our minds on the good that we have, we start to recognize and appreciate, the more of that will come. And those are the people that you look at, and sometimes think, oh, it's okay for them. They always look, everything is so working out so well for them. They're always really happy and really positive. And actually, that's because they are focusing on the good things. And it doesn't mean, we all have stuff going on that isn't great. We all have challenges and struggles at some point in our life. But we don't have to just focus on that and take away from the good things that are happening around us. So that's point number one, is to really become aware of what you're choosing to focus on. Because yes, life can be a struggle, but imagine, or not even imagine, but look at rather what else you have that is really good, the things that you can be grateful for, the people that you have around you, the job that you do, the money you have coming in. And yes, all of that can be maybe better, but first we'll look at what is really good and then make it great. Okay, the second thing I'd like to invite you to think about is the factors that are creating the situation that you're in. So if you're in a situation where you're not happy, you're not fulfilled, you're not satisfied, you're not feeling that joy, then what are the factors that are creating that? Now, the reason I say is because they're going to be things outside of your control. Those are the external factors. So let's take an example. Maybe your job, you're not happy in your job, you're feeling stuck, you're not getting recognition, you're not getting the promotion, whatever it might be for you. There are going to be factors within that situation that you're unable to control. So identify what those are first of all. So, okay, well, I can't do anything about that. But the question to now ask yourself, and this is a really important question, is what is it that I can influence? What is it that I can do to change this situation? And here's the thing, when we focus on what we can control, we're taking responsibility for our situation. And that's huge. And by the way, that takes courage, because a lot of people will focus on the external factors, the things that are outside of their own control, because they get to blame. So you may have heard people who blame their manager, their team, their organization. It might be the economy, the weather, the politics. There's always something that we can blame. And yes, of course we can. But actually, if we want to achieve or experience more in our lives, then we get to take responsibility of what we can influence. So you want to start exploring that and looking and asking yourself the question, what is it that I can influence myself to create change in my life? And it could simply be your perspective on things. You know, the old saying of, is the glass half empty or half full? And it's the same with your predicament. So if, let's go back to a career example, if you're in a situation, an organization where you're not happy, what is the reason you're not happy? If it's things that are outside of your control, what are the things that you can influence? So maybe because you're unhappy, you're showing up in a way where you're demotivated, you're not really putting the effort in anymore. You know, your work isn't the standard that it used to be. Now, what does that mean? That means that that's going to trigger the people around you. So maybe your manager's getting frustrated with you because you're not performing at your best. You know, you're not as motivated, you're not getting things done on time. And that's going to just exacerbate the situation and how you're feeling. And you start to feel like everyone's against you. Whereas actually, this is where you get to take a step back and ask yourself, what can I do differently? Maybe, okay, I'll start looking for another job, or I want to speak to somebody about promotion. But in the meantime, I'm going to show up as my best self. I'm going to put 100% into my job to perform at the best of my ability, so that, you know, I have integrity with myself in terms of how I'm performing, and I'm not allowing the situation outside of me, that's outside of my control, to influence how I operate, how I perform, what I do, and the way that I show up. Because that's very easy to do. And I've seen people do it time and time again. They'll be in a work environment where they're fed up, they're frustrated for a number of reasons, whether it's they don't get on with somebody, or the work is proving really challenging. You know, maybe the strategy of the organization is changing and they're not happy, or they're restructuring, they're, you know, announcing redundancies. There could be a number of different things. And then the person loses motivation, or they get frustrated with it all, and that worries me, feel sorry for myself, and then I can't be bothered, and then my work suffers. I don't perform as well as I used to. I've lost my motivation, you know, don't respond to emails, you know, all these things. And it just creates a snowball effect. And we do this in all areas of our life. So it's really opening your eyes to what it is you are doing that is impacting on that situation, that is maybe creating it, exacerbating it, or simply not helping it. So the example there in a work environment, okay, great. So maybe you're not happy, but continue to perform at your best. Keep doing what you do well. Go speak to people, go ask for help. And if you've tried every option, then okay, now it's time to really look at change and look at maybe moving into another organization. I need to start looking for a job. But in the meantime, maintain that motivation, the momentum, and the standards that you've always had. Don't let them drop simply because of what's going on outside of you. And this is where you get to really embrace your own values and continue to consistently show up as the best version of you. By really working on our own self-awareness, and you may have heard me speak about this before in previous lives, but when we really get tune into our own awareness of ourselves and how we're showing up, no matter what is happening outside of us, we can still show up as our best self in the best possible way. And this isn't only in our career, this can be in relationships as well. It could be in any area of your life, with your family, with your friends, with your peer group. So this is a big part of internal versus external factors. And it's a point that I can take you off on so many different tangents. I'm sharing with you today a few things for you to consider. And the primary takeaway of this point is to focus on what it is that you can control. So rather than blaming factors outside of you, look at taking responsibility for yourself and what it is that you can influence. Maybe it's having a difficult conversation, the one that you've been avoiding for months. And maybe even realizing once you've had that conversation that the outcome wasn't as bad as you had anticipated. Maybe the response was so much better than you were hoping for. You know, you were listened to, you were heard. And if you aren't, who else can you speak to? You know, you've got to take that responsibility to create what it is you want in your career, in your relationships, in your life. And therefore, take a step back, identify what's outside of your control, so those external factors, and then hone in on what you can do. The third thing I'd like to share with you is opinions and judgments. So what I'm talking about here is both your own opinions and judgments of yourself, and as well of other people, and then other people's opinions and judgments of you. And oftentimes when we are judging other people, we're looking at people and being judgy, it's because we're holding on to our own judgment for ourselves. So if we're being critical of how somebody looks, we're probably very critical of how we look. So start to recognize those patterns of because everything is a mirror, right? What we put out there is what we get back. And oftentimes if we create a situation where we end up in an argument with someone, or we're not getting on with someone, again, it's not about the other person. It's about asking yourself, what am I doing in this situation? What to create this? What can I do differently? What opinions and judgments do I need to let go of? Because that's all you can control. You can't control somebody else. So people will always judge. People will always have opinions, and that's fine. But again, don't allow it to influence how you choose to show up as your best self. You know, I remember at work talking about this in a webinar I was delivering, and I remember using an example of, you know, if somebody at work said to, so this is when I was a sales executive, and I said, You know, if somebody at work turned around to me and said, Leila, you're really crap at your job, I'd be like, okay, that's your opinion. Because I know inside of me that I was good at what I did and I had evidence to support that. So if someone said that to me, I'd be like, okay, fine. If they're trying to get a reaction out of me, if they simply don't like me, or they're trying to undermine me, whatever it might be, that's their issue. That's not my issue. My issue is I know who I am and I know what I bring to the table. I know my values, my strengths, my principles, all of those things, and I stand by them. And therefore, I will not allow other people's judgments to interfere with that, to to diminish me or to undermine me, because I know that it's not true, that it's an opinion. I would listen to it and I would take it on if it was somebody whose opinion I'm looking for, someone I trust, someone whose view I valued. So be mindful of what judgment, what opinions you allow into your space, and also be mindful of how you are judging yourself, because we do it. And a lot of times without realizing, we judge ourselves about how we look, about whether we're smart enough, about, you know, when we start to compare ourselves with the people in our peer group or in our teams at work, and the comparisonitis of, oh, they're better than me, or they look better than me, or they speak better than me, or whatever it could be. It's all judgment, it's all opinions. Letting go of that, becoming aware of what you're doing, which is creating that negativity within yourself and those feelings of feeling stuck, of overwhelm, of dissatisfaction. All of those things are coming from the thoughts that we're having and the opinions we're having on and putting on ourselves. So that's the third point, is to become aware of those opinions, those judgments, your own and of others, and what are you doing with them, and letting them go. So let me know if any of this resonates, if you've got any questions on what I'm sharing with you today. So ultimately, what I want to invite you to do is to look at creating change. So if you're that person who is struggling right now, if you are feeling stuck, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling dissatisfied with life, you're asking, like, what is this all for? You know, it's like just the same thing day after day, nothing's changing. Then I really do invite you to embrace creating that change for yourself. And here's the thing, no one ever said this was easy. And it may be that you need to seek out help. And there is so much online now. You know, you can Google things. You've got YouTube videos on practically everything you could possibly need. There are books you can read. There are podcasts. There are lives such as this. You know, so check them all out. You know, I have a podcast where I'm interviewing leaders in the technology industry who have something to say. They have a voice. They have an opinion. They, you know, they've overcome challenges. They talk about their successes and how they've achieved them. And for me, the purpose of that is to show people what is possible. You know, again, look for things that resonate with you, or support where you're at right now. Again, whether it's in your career or in your life at large. Think about looking at YouTube videos, as I said. Maybe get a mentor. If it's a workplace thing, maybe look to get a mentor to support you, or hire a coach and help you to get there faster, to get to where you want to be. So there's so many options that you have. There's a wealth of free content out there. You know, mine alone is a lot, and there's hundreds of thousands of other people creating content that can help and assist you. So go check out what it is that you need. Go look for that help. And ultimately, if you are still struggling, then reach out, whether it's to me or to somebody else that resonates with you, and ask for that help. Don't stay struggling. Don't stay feeling stuck, overwhelmed, and dissatisfied with life. Please don't do that. And the reason I say this is because we have this one life. There are absolutely no guarantees in life, whether we'll wake up tomorrow morning, what can happen next week, we don't know. And the biggest regrets that people have is what they didn't do. And why do I say that? Because what we didn't do are the things that we tend to regret. And the big thing I'm talking about today is change, embracing that change and looking at what you can do differently to create a new experience for yourself. And that means an element of change. So Don't be the person who ends up regretting the things that you didn't try, the things that you didn't do, giving things your best shot so that you can create the life that you really want, so you feel truly fulfilled. If something isn't working in one area of your life, then look to change it. That's my invitation to you today. So as I said, if you are feeling stuck, overwhelmed, dissatisfied, these are some of the things that you can think about, you can look at bringing into your own life to embrace and to take on for yourself, so that you get to be a stand for yourself. And just as a quick recap, first thing is to stop doing the same thing over and over again and look at what you can do differently. Start to embrace that change. Number one is your focus. What are you focusing on? Focus on what you want and focus on all the good things you already have. Create a new story for yourself. Who do you want to be? How do you want to be showing up? What do you want people to be saying about you? Shift your focus away from all the struggle, the hardship, and focus on what you have already and what you can do with that. The second thing is to distinguish between your internal and external factors that are creating your situation. Park the external factors because you have no control over them, and look at what you can do with the internal being yourself, how you are showing up, the thoughts that you're having, the focus that you have. Are you taking responsibility? What is it you can do differently or better to create a different outcome? And then thirdly, opinions and judgments, those of your own and those of others, and those of yourself and your own judgment about other people. So start to recognize where you're doing that. How is that even helping you? Because it really isn't. Unless it's inspiring you when you look at other people to think, oh wow, you know, they're showing me what's possible, or they're motivating me to be a better person in my, you know, my career, my health, my relationship, whatever it might be. Great. But beyond inspiration, we don't want judgment and opinions that bring us down or bring other people down. So letting go of that aspect of what's going on for you in your life, and then creating that change. As I said, no one ever said it was easy. So if you are struggling, then do seek out help, whether it's from a mentor, from a coach, from all of the available collateral out there on the web, from YouTube videos to podcasts, books, and so forth. The list goes on. Until next time, remember to build your influence, make an impact, and be remembered for all of the right reasons by showing up as the best version of you. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already done so. And if you enjoyed and gained value from today's episode, then do please leave a review telling us your key learnings and what you enjoyed the most. And do please share this podcast with your friends and colleagues so we can spread the word on life leadership, creating a life of choice, freedom, and new possibilities. Connect with me directly on LinkedIn, and if you would like to learn more about how we can work together, either DM me on LinkedIn or email me. All details and resources can be found in the show notes.